The Zulus in Africa greets by saying Sawubona, which literally means I see you. That is exactly how I felt in Thailand, visible. First world woman will drag you to court and accuse you of harassment, and yet somehow will refrain from acknowledging your existence. As my recollections were soaked up by love-starved colleagues, a female stealthily approached from behind me to announce quite unequivocally that the girl I met in Thailand only wants me for my money, as to underscore the infinitesimal probability that a civilized, proper feminist will ever give me a second look. This was the first time we agreed on something. The female was a colleague too, but generally avoided addressing me, except one day deep in the outback while attending a meeting at a mine. I opened the door for us to enter and suspected she would walk in first as she stood to my right, and because I'm South African. That's what we do here in the third world. I thought turning into an ass just because I'm in Australia may seem like cultural appropriation, but apparently being cordial is the bigger sin. Upon our return to Perth, I was called in by my line manager, who explained the workings of civilized people to me. In all fairness, my risk at being abused by Australian women was minuscule. One sentence would disclose my accent, nor did I have pictures of serpents painted on my forearms. Such women who flirted with me were on holiday from countries where ironing your clothes does not signify your rebellion against the nanny state. I can echo what Abraham Lincoln wrote to a friend in a letter. I have not been spoken to by any woman who could avoid doing so. In Maputo, nobody noticed my relation to Abraham Lincoln, and if they did, they said nothing. At least, I think so, for I could not understand Portuguese. But unlike Australian women, they did not avoid me. Clearly, nobody mentioned to them that men are toxic. The mall had a movie theater where a new Tom Cruise movie was showing. Even after the apocalypse, Tom Cruise had women fighting over him. Life is not fair. The movie was called Oblivion and was the only one that played in English. I watched the same movie 3 days in a row. It is epic. It just so happens that the two women fighting over Tom Cruise was a female and a female. Obviously, in the end, the one was blown into oblivion and the other became a mother. It is a very third world story, very unwoke. I looked forward to watching it again after spending the mornings on my bike, getting to know the surroundings and being amazed by the people. The abject poverty fails entirely to depress their self-esteem and joy in life. In the rural areas, north of the city, children would run next to the dogs that are running next to the bike, while their mothers and sisters remain at a distance, waving me along. One evening, I asked a taxi to take me to the beach, where there is a restaurant with Afrikaans menus for boertjies like me. In the taxi, I gained the impression we were not approaching the beach, but rather the city center, where the nightlife was reportedly punctuated by knife fights and robbery. I was not properly conditioned for this environment, as I had been living in a nanny state where even the South African accent is a microaggression. Whenever I asked, the driver confirmed vigorously that he has just the right beach in mind for me, with such a winning smile that almost convinced me to stay in the car. But the next time I stopped, I just got myself out of the car and started walking back several kilometers to the beach restaurant. I was greeted with amused curiosity. "Where are you from this time of night?" he asked me, and I told him the story, half embarrassed and half annoyed at my misfortune. Halfway through my story, he started laughing as if I was a comedian and gave me some advice. "Next time, ask the taxi driver to take you to the praia, because in the local vernacular, a beach is a woman." South Africans are such gutless people. If he does not want to serve you, he will not say, "No worries, mate, then sacrifice your bacon to Molech." He will warn you in advance that the chicken will taste like fish. I thought he was joking, and soon was munching away on a delicious-looking chicken fish or ficken or something. He came to sit by me and explained this is all they have left for the day, from a local producer who raise chickens on fish bones. I enjoyed the chicken and the company, but don't think it's an improvement to free-roaming chicken, whatever that tastes like.
Machines really know what tasty wheat tasted like, huh? Maybe they got it wrong. Maybe what I think tasty wheat tasted like actually tasted like oatmeal or tuna fish. That makes you wonder about a lot of things. You take chicken, for example, maybe they couldn't figure out what to make chicken taste like, which is why chicken tastes like everything.
Waiting at the dentist early the next morning, I seemed to encounter half the professional class of Maputo around a coffee shop where a multitude of well-dressed women seemed to share their festive season experiences, just as Australian women had done 6 hours earlier and American girls will do 7 hours later, even if the earth is flat. In third world countries, a second look at a woman does not seem to offend them. As in Thailand, Maputo sprouts a variety of fine-looking, friendly women. These thoughts were occupying my mind as the girl seemed to stare directly at the air behind me. My theory is that women don't deprive pleasure in the same way as men do. We enjoy the seeing. Women enjoy being seen. So when a woman seems to stare at the atmosphere around you, she may be a climate scientist, but more likely she's observing you're noticing her. Even Australian women, who reportedly detest male interest, dress in such a manner as to elicit the attention they profess to hate. They don't need you for anything else. The government pay for half her expenses, her ex pay the other half, her next pay for the surplus, and all you need to do is to validate her desirability. Your simping will convince her that she has not yet hit the wall. In non-Western countries, feminism has not deprived women of respect for choosing to be a mother, a wife, and a helper, as Eve was to Adam. Though no system is perfect, and I do not pretend to believe women in Thailand and Africa live lives of eternal bliss, but they seem not to grow old alone. And if she don't remain the only wife of her husband, being the second wife may be better than marrying a corporation or a cat. I don't know. I'm not a woman. But from all the loveless men around, the mathematics indicate that there has to be even more loveless women. As we grow older, emancipated women discover their slavish friends with their mediocre husbands benefit more than her memories of exotic encounters with the handsome Chad with the sinking warship on his chest. I ordered coffee and pretended to fiddle with my GPS while facing the gaggle of girls waiting for their workplaces to open. One of them seemed tempted to talk to me, and I would certainly have invited her if experience had not taught me that the language barrier in Mozambique is as wide as the gender barrier in civilization. And yet, as I walked over, she stood one step closer as if to assist in my inquiry. "May I buy you a cup of coffee?" I asked. Her English was accented but educated. She attends university to become a lawyer, and she was happy to have met someone on whom she can practice her language skills, as she was also attending English classes after hours. I sat there grinning like Jeffrey Epstein in the company of a girl seemingly unaware or not caring that I could be her father. And for the life of me, I could not help but offer my further assistance in her English education. After work we went for dinner and watched Oblivion for the third time. It was when she told me that I looked just like Tom Cruise, I realized she is the most observant and intelligent woman I ever met. If you subscribed already, you will see me in the next video. If not, please subscribe.